All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Welcome to the Unit 4 Board Policy Committee meeting. The time is 3:36, and I'd like to call to order this meeting. Sherry.
Mr. Bruno,
I'm here, thank you.
Ms. Holder. Here. Mr. Casillas,
Here.
Mr. Hill,
Here.
Dr. Kozlowski,
Here.
Mr. Lear,
Here.
Mr. Mast,
Here.
Ms. Makowski, Ms. Mislin. Here. Mr. Nadronzi, Ms. Sanders,
Here.
and Mr. Walker.
Here. Wonderful. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda.
So moved?
That is Lear Metkowski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Wonderful. This next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, and those should be in the email. I'll let you find it, everyone. Sherry sent an email out very recently. Once you get a chance to review those, I'll need
Make a motion to approve these.
all right, we got a motion. Anyone second?
Second?
Holder Kosowski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Wonderful. All right. The first item for review and discussion is a new policy. It is 832, and it is the recording of meetings, specifically as it relates to IEP meetings, but this certainly could be more general. This question of one's ability, a parent, an advocate, external visitors to our buildings for meetings, their ability to record our meetings has come up, and there's been quite a bit of discussion on it. And this is a policy that our attorney drafted for us, so that way we could standardize our procedures as we get these requests. And so for the committee this afternoon, I'd like the committee's input on the language before us this afternoon.
All right. So, just to clarify, because I've heard some comments from the community, generally, so we from the SPED community saying there's a legal right to record these meetings. I'm assuming our board attorneys obviously have got more knowledge, and it's not the first time they dealt with that. So they're taking the position that the Eavesdropping Act is overruling the ability to record these meetings? No, I see the ADA accommodations.
Yeah, so there are differing opinions on what's allowable and what isn't, and who should be allowed and who shouldn't. We posed that exact question to Michelle Todd, our attorney, and asked her to provide some clarification on that very specifically. Because certainly, if people are entitled or they have certain rights to be able to do certain things, we don't want to violate those. And so giving that question really specifically, she came back with this. And
Okay.
said that certainly parents have the right to request. I know there was a question about advocates and others.
So that's, yeah.
And her position was that it's really specific to parents, the way this law is written. And there's also debate about whether we can ask if one has a disability. And if so, can we ask ask them to provide documentation to support that? Because that has come into question as well. And the guidance that we've been given is, yes, we should, and these are the guidelines for doing that. And so I think this policy reflects that.
So, and here's just my questions, and it's not the policy as much as it is, it's twofold. First, with regards to the recording, if parents are going to record it, I think as a district, we need to cover ourselves and just by having our own recording of meetings and ability to, using our own software, and I'm sure it's out there, upload it onto a secure server. My issue with parents, and then it's that slippery slope, is it guardians, who is it, and then advocates, is these are, especially the IEP meetings, these are mental health records of minors and then also kids over the age of 12. And I know there's a distinction there when you need approval if a child's over the age of 12 and able to give an approval. Once that gets recorded, that's out into the world. And there's a privacy right of those children. I mean, what if that I know we have some severe behaviors. What hands is that getting into in the future? I would feel more comfortable, and again, as a parent, I guess you have a right, but there's also that line of, can you sign away your rights of a minor? You certainly can't sign away negligence. But the question that I would have there is, who's has access to it? And we want to make sure we're protecting our students and the district as well, because if we're like here, you can record this. I worry about storage, and is it possible to just have a secure server where a parent can come in and I know that's extra work on the district, but listen to the meeting minutes if they want to? And also for legal purposes, if somebody else is recording it, you can splice, change a million things these days.
Well, I think with any policy, and I think this one specifically, we're going to have to develop some procedures. I know that there are some recording softwares. I'm not the expert on recording softwares, but I know that there are some recording softwares that are more accurate and, more importantly, more secure. We've relied on IT's kind of guidance and which ones those are. But really, the requests that come in are for the parents' ability to do their own recording. And I think the law is clear that they do have a right in some capacity. And what they do with that information after that is certainly, a good question, right? I don't know how much of an ability the district has to be able to regulate it. Now, from our own perspective, our own recordings, I know we've done some recordings, and maybe I'll allow Suzanne to speak on this because I haven't been in those meetings where this has happened, but in those instances where we've had advocates doing recording, we've also simultaneously been doing our own recording. Suzanne, do you want to just share a little bit?
Yeah, I think this proposal is really important because I think we need to recognize, and I think, right, adding the recording component to a meeting discussion changes the tenor of the room. I'm just going to be honest, and I'm looking at my principals across the way. And it is intimidating for some of our staff and threatening. And so I like that this policy proposes we actually are doing the recording. So this policy does not even allow parents and guardians to bring in their own devices to record, that we're actually recording and then providing them the copy. My clarification would be, Dan, it says that we're asking the parents and the guardians to give us some advance notice, and I'm wondering if we need to quantify that notice. I'm going to give you an example that just happened today at an elementary building, and I had a SPED administrator in my office, and the meeting was, in the afternoon, and they just got a note from the parent that they were going to record. So I don't know if we need to quantify the timeline, would be one of my thoughts. And then I'm assuming that the district's ADA and 504 coordinator is the executive director of special education, or am I not correct? Because honestly, currently, these current requests, Dan, have been coming to you as the acting superintendent. So those would be some questions that I have.
Yeah, does it make sense? Does it make sense for the district's ADA and 504 coordinator to be the people? Should it be the director of special education?
Well, I think it should be whatever's the easiest pathway and most accessible, to be quite frank, and it might be what we have drafted, especially if we're on a shorter timeline. But we have been doing this in some sort already, right? Right, Dan? I mean, we have been reviewing requests and requesting documentation, and even following up, quite frankly, on some of the documentation that's been provided to us and asking for even further clarification. So it seems to be working. I do share your concern, Betsy, about what happens to the recordings once we have them. And I don't know if they're foiable. Like, there's a lot of stuff that
And do we need the child to sign off on it? I mean, that would be questions that you maybe like, looking at like Carl Christie, following, and it's
Yeah,
not for any, but it's for like IEP when you have mental health, because HIPAA would apply to that stuff. I think that we need to really.
that's probably a procedure piece that we'll need to follow up on.
I have a question for anybody. Under the ADA accommodation paragraph, it seems to suggest that the recording will be for the purpose of assisting somebody who has a disability. Could somebody help elucidate that for me? What's the idea? That they
Yeah.
need to watch it a couple times, or they need to be able to write it down, they can't keep up fast enough to
Oh,
write it all down? Why do you have to...
We have
Why do you
a,
have to demonstrate that you have an ADA need in order to record?
well, that's
Give me an
related to
example
the
what that would
Illinois
be.
Eavesdropping Act. So we can't record someone without their knowledge and permission. But an
Certainly.
example is, I'm looking across at Centennial, we have a mother who actually prefers to do virtual meetings because she has a hearing impairment. And so it's easier for her to do virtual meetings, and then she records them so that she can go back and make sure that she heard everything. That is one example. So hearing losses, hearing impairments would be a common one, especially if the speed of the meeting is too quick, or, it's hard, the volume isn't, if there's background noise, sometimes it's difficult for people with hearing. Another one that we see, quite frankly, or often, Dan, is inattentiveness. So inability to focus. So maybe to be able to focus enough to be able to process and collect my thoughts so that I can get a clear response. So some parents find it difficult. There is a lot of vocabulary and jargon. And so just that ability to focus, think clearly, and get a clear response back sometimes is difficult for parents. And they'll say things like, well, let me think about that. And they want to go back and listen to the conversation.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
We also have some parents who are on the spectrum. So autism is a language-based, disability. So just being able to comprehend and process that language might be difficult. Those are 3 examples that I can
Okay.
think of.
And I think we need to be prepared, of course, for a disgruntled parent or guardian to publish the video to YouTube or social media to point out the district's failures. Right? We can't, I'm not saying it should change at all how we vote on this policy, but if we're going to start providing recordings of these meetings, which I understand are often difficult, and sometimes people leave unhappy, we should be prepared to see them on the internet.
And that goes to the violation of the child's privacy rights and the HIPAA stuff. Can a parent do that with mental health records?
Quite frankly, the employees as well, like.
So,
go ahead, Henry, I'm sorry.
no, I was going to add on to that. I'm wondering too, when it says that the district will provide recording to the parent following the meeting. Is that like right after the meeting? Like, who would have time to make sure that, and how do we give it to them? Like on what device, and where are we storing it to authenticate in the event that they do put it out there and tweak it or use AI to change things? Like, how do we know what was the original content and all that?
So what we've done in the past is, and again, this would probably be in the process, the administrative procedures. We recorded it, and I've talked with Rhonda in the IT department about this. We've tried different ways. We've recorded it on a district-owned iPad, right, that can't be accessible to kids. Then we had to, because of the length of the meeting was so long, we had to get it to IT and have them download. So there are some, and again, I'm with you, Dan, I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the room. So I think procedurally, we would need to work with IT. I've talked to Rhonda about what are the best recording devices or platforms or, and do we then maybe just, we also talked about, do we then just create a transcript and destroy the video? So that's another way. We could also just maybe transcribe so that the meeting is in writing and then the video is destroyed. So I think that needs to, again, Dan, be lined out in some procedures. Because actually, the point of videoing is not for the site, right? It's for the content, the information. So once we transcribe that meeting, we have a record of it. I mean, that's how the court system works, right? Like, they're not videotaping court hearings where we have, what is that called? Yeah, so.
Like a deposition, but
Thank you. I couldn't think of what that was.
court reporter does
Yeah,
that.
court reporter, there you go.
It's still, my concern is at 12 years old, and I don't know now with IEPs, do we have the child consent? Because that may be a question that we need to ask in general, because it's over 12.
Under IDEA, we don't do transfer of rights until 18.
And there's been legislation that's come through in the last probably 5 years that really works to protect that. But I would have a child over 12 consenting to, because when you tape that and you give that, that's releasing those records to the parent, and I mean, or anybody else. And that is, again, when it involves mental health, other stuff, different rules, but you've got a child with severe behavior issues, and that comes out. And to Henry's point as well, how are we transmitting this? Are we putting it on, because if you order medical records from, any hospital facility, that's on a secure server. Like, there's a big issue with medical records going through, just sending it via email or I mean, is it possible that we would do something along the lines of having somewhere where someone can come in and review those, but not actually put it in their possession? I'm just seeing, and same with Tony, like, when that gets out there, I'm just foreseeing disaster. And not just, we're gonna stick it to the district because they screwed up, but disasters and we just violated the privacy rights of a child.
But, so now I have a question. I mean, we're referring to medical practices and things like that. So would we be, you're stating that a 12-year-old going to the doctor the parent does not have the right to those medical records, and that 12-year-old is signing off, giving the parent the right to their medical records?
It is ridiculous. I mean, it is, yes, on certain things. Like, so it's meant to protect kids, like, say you need birth control, or,
Sure.
and a parent doesn't want that, or there's certain things that are protected, but yeah, you have to go in and have your kids sign everything off when they turn 12. It's a total pain, but yeah. And then mental health is,
No matter what?
no matter what, then, I mean, emergent situation, yes, but like when they turn 12,
So then
go to
wouldn't,
Christy and Carl or wherever you
I mean,
go.
much like other laws are at play, and we don't have the lawyer here, but wouldn't it just, I mean, as far as a district perspective, the misuse of that information in the hands of the parents criminally would come back on the parent
I agree with you. I mean, we can't develop
prevent
policy
everything.
that prevents parents from doing the wrong thing with respect to their child's best interest.
If they are acting as parent and act poorly, then that would be on them and the legal rights of the student and the child for that parent to face consequences because of what they have done. Much like in our system, there's always that opportunity for something to go awry, but we can't necessarily prevent for everything.
Yeah, and they are getting copies. It's not just, right, the transcription of the meeting. Like, they're getting copies of the evaluations from a psych, from a social worker, from an OT, from a PT.
And is there,
Each.
is there a rule on that when you hit 12, I mean, again, when you hit 12,
Not under IDA.
and that I would want, if they have to release it. Now, again, if they release it, because like I couldn't go or get my child's medical records from anywhere without, over 12, they have got to sign on. I mean, not that a signature for a 12-year-old means anything, but they've got to authorize that to be able to get that. And I think we are a group that actually has to hold on to, I mean, we're under the HIPAA stuff with certain,
Yeah, I
Like,
think
Release
for,
of information between Carl and us right now for students is still going through the parent and Carl. It's
and the
not.
child probably.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not the process, right, Suzanne? On our release of information
no,
medically, it's not going through the child.
yeah. And two, for education, usually we don't follow HIPAA, we follow FERPA. It's different with medical. So it's more student record process, working with, parents' request on that versus the medical, correct?
Okay.
Yeah,
So even if medical records are included in that,
right,
we're
correct.
still just FERPA, not HIPAA?
Once you receive it, it becomes a school record, so it's
Okay,
Yeah.
that clarifies a lot.
That's helpful.
And Margie also clarified that the 12-year-old under HIPAA is only for sexual health care, which is probably most likely not an item we would be addressing in an IEP.
It's also mental, I mean, it's mental health as well.
So we certainly can get some clarification from our attorney on some of these things. Are there any other concerns that haven't, yep.
So I just have one question. When it comes to the idea of recording, in either the policy or the administrative procedure, do we need to address the use of any device during an IEP meeting, for example? And it probably goes under the law that is cited, right? Hang on, my computer the eavesdrop law.
Illinois
But
eavesdropping
let's say
criminal, yeah.
a parent or a guardian has invited an advocate to a meeting. The advocate is not there, but the parent or guardian is using their phone as a way to bring them in. That advocate could be doing, any entity that is part of the meeting that is not present could be doing anything to either record or what have you, that meeting in that environment. I was wondering if in this policy or in the procedures we should have in there, if we are bringing somebody else in, it is through, our own phone that we are using versus other pieces, or what we do. Maybe they just violated the law anyhow, so it doesn't even matter because you're protected that way. And it might be a moot point.
Yeah, I think, I see what you're saying. I believe whether it's them using their phone or our computer, if it's via Zoom, they still could record and would still be violating eavesdropping. So I think it's that
It just
extra
falls in
step.
that bucket, yeah.
Yeah, it can happen anytime.
Anywhere.
I mean, person could have a phone in their purse, right? Like one of us could be recording right now without our, it's just so.
In a pen.
Well, for the
With-
record, we are recording this meeting, so no one needs to.
You just can't use it in court if it's not permissible. Tony
We
could
could also
probably speak to that.
we could also set an expectation from the beginning of the meeting, or a norm or an agreement that we will not use any recordings. Recordings are prohibited during this meeting and this time. I don't know if that's stated, but that could easily be stated at the beginning of each and every meeting.
part of
so
a
all parties
procedure.
are aware.
Yeah.
If someone joined late, that'd be an easy addition to make. I think that would give some protection.
I'll send I just pulled up the Attorney General's rules on authorization for release of records and communications by school districts. I'll send that to everyone. It does cover the 12.
Any other thoughts on
This
504?
this might be well-known. This might be for the attorney too, but what is the documentation that the parents are supposed to provide for the ADA? Is it a doctor's note? Is it a?
Yeah, so it's generally been a doctor's note in some capacity that states that, Dan Casillas is under my care. They, suffer from, or they have X, Y, and Z, and recording the meetings is an appropriate accommodation for them. They're fairly general.
I do agree with the timeline piece, maybe some criterion in there for how much advance notice, just so that we're prepared on our end.
Okay.
There's no specification of whether it needs to be a video recording or an audio recording. I mean, could we comply with this policy by providing just simply an audio recording on one of those little tape recorders? I mean, that would be a lot lighter in
That's
terms
old
of
school,
data.
as Mr. Casillas likes to say. And so, yeah, we have done that. We have done you can do an audio recording on an iPad. It doesn't have to be a video recorder or whatever device, yeah.
A lot less of a storage issue, I mean, a few megabytes to do. But storage is free nowadays, so.
Yeah, I really would like to talk to IT more, because I surely think there's probably, there's got to be something out there where we record and it's instantly transcribed for us, and it would just, hopefully be easy, and we could destroy the recording and keep a copy of the transcript and move on.
I like the transcript idea. I think that would be my first preference, but I also would go with the audio recording over the video recording, just as far as storage capacity
There's no need for
logistics.
video.
But I don't know that we would need either, and maybe we start with the transcript would be provided we'd state that in the policy, and then under some other circumstance that would require an audio or video recording, that would need to be a special request or a special circumstance.
Different disability,
Different
maybe.
disability, but maybe in most cases, the policy should probably address the transcript, just for storage in the folders.
We could probably look at a lot of IRB protocols too, because this is something that is a regular occurrence in the research world, and they're following all of the protocols to make sure no harm is done to students. They have protocols for how to practices for the transcription, everything. So this isn't a new thing. I think we could look at, university resources with IRB, and they can help us generate this in a matter of days to get a practice going.
All right. Thank you, everyone, on that. The next item is Press 120. We've got a number of items for review. You should find a document in the email that Sherry sent out. It's 103 pages. Don't be scared by that. Sherry's done a great job of annotating at the top of the policies exactly what types of changes. So if we all recall, some of these policies are just legal updates or reference updates. And so there's very minimal changes to them. So we're going to go through every policy that is in 120, and I will point out what types of changes, and if there are questions as we're going through there, just slow me down and let me know if there's a need for any discussion. If that sounds good with everyone. All right, I'm going to start with Section 2. This is Policy 120, Board Member Development. This policy and footnotes are updated for continuous improvement there. So there's no actual changes to the policy. So I will, defer to our board members if they have any questions about this one specifically.
I have no questions.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to 150 committees. The press updates here are fairly minimal, but one item has come to our attention here recently, and as it relates to our Finance Committee. We have operated that committee as a board committee from its recent kind of revival, and it isn't noted in our policy, and so I guess I'm proposing to the committee, should we add it to this policy right here? When we meet as a policy, finance committee, we certainly have a set number of members. We have to ensure that we do have a quorum. We follow the Open Meetings Act. We have public comment. Last night we had a very lively public comment section, which was fantastic. And so I guess, does it make sense if we're acting that way that we put it in this policy? Linda?
We asked the two board members that sit on the committee their thought on it, and they wanted it as a board, it was their expectation that it would be a board committee, just because of the nature of what they're listening to and being informed on, which is resource usage, and so.
Why doesn't press suggest that it be a board committee? If we know. I mean, I just put that out there.
Yeah,
for the-
it's a good question. It's one that's been raised by a lot of districts. I think press had an assumption, so press was set specifically on the school code. Where board, sort of interwoven into the board ethos is an expectation that board members would have something that provided fiduciary oversight of the district or resource oversight of the district. But for some reason, press never explicitly called it because the school code doesn't explicitly doesn't have a paragraph. It's contained in like multiple spaces throughout the school code. So a lot of districts just simply add it just to sort of close up the loop.
Well, would there ever be a scenario where the Finance Committee was able to execute its purpose without board members serving? Has that ever historically been the case?
At the point where there's no board members, it would just simply be information because board members make up part of the quorum. So you wouldn't get to quorum without the two official board members.
Well, if it's not a board committee, you could make it a committee of 3 or a committee of 30.
It could be a totally public, open meeting with no action. And then the difficulty is it begins to pull the board further away from the awareness of the resource question. So if you
Yeah.
didn't have board members on, if you didn't have a board member that showed up, you guys wouldn't know what would happen, but 30 people in the community would.
Right.
Right? So then you're sitting, making financial decisions. It's basically impaired because 30 other people know why you're making a decision and don't know why. So,
Yeah, I mean, if we think it's a good idea to put it as a board committee, I have no objection to that. It means that we have a current policy, the number, I have no idea what the number is, but there's a policy that says, right now, I believe, the board president picks the board members who will serve on the committee. I think we have a policy on that. I'm pretty sure we do.
is it a policy or is it just a procedure?
Policy.
It is a policy?
I don't know, I don't remember what the policy was, but
It's
I
a long
remember
list of-
identifying who was going to serve on which committee several months ago, and so that would be, it would all be consistent with how we've practiced it in the past. I'm fine with it if we want to add.
I mean, I would defer to the people on the Finance Committee who, I mean.
Oh, indeed it would be, would
Yeah, I started looking, I was like, hold on, it has to be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
mean,
I think that,
I defer to what you guys want on that. I think I would agree with what you're saying, Linda, and that we start getting far and far away, and you've got I can just,
I
yeah,
think it makes sense. Put it under,
put it under board policy, or board committee.
make it a board committee. Are you asking us to change this right now? Do you need a motion?
Well, no, it's so, again, really, like finance and every,
Goes to a read.
we make, yeah, it goes to read. Betsy's correct here. So we make recommendations to the board, and then the board as a group, you guys will decide whether you guys want to do this, but do we have all those in favor of adding, do we have a motion to, I guess, if we've,
I don't know how we normally make these changes in this committee. Do you ask at the end, all the changes that we've talked about for the last hour, are those all approved?
No.
I mean,
as we do them as kind of a case by, yeah.
Yeah.
And do we have any objections to this becoming a board committee, the finance specifically?
no objections.
We will present it to the board, and we'll find out if they have objections.
Yeah.
It gets read.
Dan, on our website, it lists the Facilities Committee as a board committee. Do we need to add that as well?
We actually
Under the
updated.
policy?
We actually updated the board website. It's no longer, the ROC committee was a special board committee that was established during the referendum period. Once ROC disbanded, the title stayed, but the committee wasn't active. So now that we're reactivating it, they took the name board committee off of it and switched it on the website. So it's been publicized, and it's on the website. It's now being just called simply a facility committee.
Under a board committee, though, it's listed as a board committee on our website.
My understanding was IT took all that down. Are you on the website?
I just checked.
Yeah, I'm on the website right now, Board of Education Committees, it lists 4.
Yeah.
Policy, Discipline, Finance, and Facilities.
So,
Can I see the page? I can just change it right now.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
The facilities
just a
is,
reference.
yeah, the facilities is absolutely not a board committee.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
You guys are just talking about two different pages.
okay.
The facilities page is not listed as a board committee, but that page does, and I will change it right now.
There used to be something. when
just
you
needs
look
to be
back on it,
updated
there'd be
then,
like
Garrett.
like 5 or
Right.
6, 7 board committees. I'm not a fan of that.
All right, thanks for pointing that out, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. And then the other one is that on that page, it lists the Discipline Advisory Committee, and that is a combination of items 2 and 3 in the policy, but our website does not articulate that or reference those, so it could be confusing about what the committees are serving or how the policy might not match the website. So that's just a note that we might need to think about on our website.
Yeah, Garrett, let's maybe work together on updating our website to make sure it's clear that our Discipline Advisory Committee is the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee and the Behavior Interventions Committee,
Absolutely.
which policy allows. All right.
It's also on the document too, Garrett.
It says board committee on the document.
On the document that says Board Committees Assignments, when you click on that, that PDF actually has facilities there listed.
Oh, I got it.
Looks like it's a PDF.
All right. Good deal. We'll move on. Section 2270, we actually updated this policy recently here, and we have an update to it, very small update. Legal references, footnotes are updated, and just small language changes there.
It's a grammatical update.
Yeah. And if no questions, we'll move forward to Section 4, 410, Fiscal and Business Management. We've got some legal reference and footnotes are updated and some slight grammar updates there in the first paragraph. Nothing very significant. Section 4, 30, Revenue and Investments. Again, There are some slight policy changes, legal references, and footnotes as well. Actually, if you go to page 14, there are some changes there. I know Linda reviewed those, and they all look good.
Standard, yep.
We'll move on. 480, accounting and audits. I know Linda reviewed this as well.
This is just reflective of the legal statute change. And this is going to change again, because ISB boofed the writing of the statute. So they're going to have to reintroduce legislation in this upcoming session to fix this whole thing isn't written correctly. So they're going to redo it again, so. But this is just statutory language for this one.
Okay. We'll move on then. 4140, waiver of student fees. Here we just have legal references and footnote updates on page 21. For 190, targeted school violence prevention program. Again, the legal references, cross-references, and footnotes are updated. And we're through section 4. Section 5. 510, equal employment opportunity for minority recruitment. We've got some language change. Ken did review these, and he approved the press recommendations. Five 590, not 5190, 590, abuse and neglected child reporting. There's some language updates there, and legal references, cross-references, and footnotes are updated there. Administration recommends those changes. Five 100 staff development program. Mostly legal references, footnote updates here. Nothing significant. 5190, teacher qualifications. Again, this one is just legal references and footnote updates. Five 200, terms and conditions of employment and dismissal. Well, there is a change to this policy. The administration does recommend we do this, and this is our practice, right? We certainly are accommodating to nursing mothers. Now our policy reflects it more clearly.
Can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
Sorry. When it says school day, it's page 36, and it says the length of the teacher's day shall normally be 30 minutes, everybody see, and then the evening meetings, PTA, et cetera, shall be considered as part of the teacher's time schedule. Is that matched to the new contractual language as well?
This is the only place in the district where the day start and end time is really defined.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, this has been carryover language for a long, long time here.
I just want to be clear, so if we have like an open house or a future charger night, is that an extension then of the teacher's school day? And by policy, it is, am I making sense?
There's that
No.
line under school day, Sarah, that says evening meetings, PTA, et cetera, shall be considered as part of the teacher's time schedule. So
Yes.
does that then say that's part of their work day, therefore you're not liable for paying or saying like you're not responsible for coming? Because it's part of the time schedule.
But are they responsible for being there?
Yeah, we
Yes.
had some language in our contract.
We did.
Yeah.
Just added.
But it
Yes.
It was
wasn't,
just
Put it
added.
in there.
I don't want to,
For
I can
everything.
provide clarity
it
for you.
wasn't for everything.
No, it's not for
Not
everything.
for everything, but we did add some language in the contract, so I can find that reference for
Okay.
you, but.
Sorry, I'm not trying to create more work. I just want to be clear. Okay.
No, but it did center around open house,
Parent-teacher conference.
parent-teacher conferences, and IEP meetings,
Yeah, IEP meetings.
and
were-
faculty meetings, like what was always considered professional responsibilities, I think was more outlined in the contract.
Yep.
Yep.
5220 substitutes, just legal references and footnote updates here. 5280 duties and qualifications. Small policy changes here. State recognizes our professional educator license instead of certifications now, more broadly, license is the term. So nothing really significant there. 530, schedules and employment year. Consistent with the policy that we just looked at. And the policy upnote, and the policy updates and the footnote updates. And that is section 5.
Dan,
Yeah.
under nursing mothers, on that 5300, there's that new language, and compensates them for reasonable time needed to express breast milk according to state and federal law. Does that, so we already have practices in place, but if you say to an employee, oh, you have your break time at this time, therefore you can use that in that way, that's completely fair, correct? We're not telling them to use their lunch. It probably more applies to support staff, because support staff don't have a paid lunch. They have paid breaks, but not paid lunch. So we would, in essence, be able to say your break time is at this time, therefore we can, you can use that for that purpose, and it still falls under compensated time. You just can't ever tell anybody your lunchtime falls when you're looking for that, and therefore you could use your lunchtime.
I think what we can't do is say, you can only pump at this time, right? We can't tell them, like, you can only pump during your lunch, you can't
Right.
do it any other time. And I don't believe that's happening anywhere. Now, we also have to be reasonable, because their break time might not be the time that they need to pump, right? Their body's on its own cycle, and so we have to be reasonable
Yep.
in providing them. What we're not asking them to do is say, you need to punch out
Right.
so that you can,
Just like all of the other calls of nature. I think
Yes.
the way we treat any other call of nature during the workday.
yes,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, yes, but that's also a stickier one in education, I think, than the regular workday. You don't have those liberties and freedoms, right? You're operating on a bell schedule. You're operating in very tight restrictions. So I wonder if on this, it might be more on the practice side, that we might need to dive into this a little bit more, because I do think it has been practice under the procedure side to say a teacher's plan time can be their pumping time, which is paid time, but we also what you were referencing, Dan, will not schedule an additional time where they need coverage outside of the day that they have. And that's been a human resources practice, that if a teacher says, I have to pump at 10 in the morning, we are not providing coverage for that class at 10 in the morning. We're saying we're going to have to work out a different schedule because that's beyond the capability of the school to always provide.
I'm looking at our procedures right now.
You know, depending on the situation too, because some people have medical situations they have to attend to.
Right.
You can provide coverage. If we can provide coverage, so you may say, okay, the admin can go cover for such and such time, and they're not being docked.
Correct. And I think that, the policy really gets to, is it paid time? But it also leads to a few other things that I don't know if what you just were describing is the practice that's happening everywhere.
Yeah, we don't have a procedure for,
For nursing mothers? No, we don't.
I've cross-referenced these with the right to breath.
I don't know how, prevalent this is. Yeah, I've been in a building administrator too, right? Again, I don't know how prevalent it is. So that would, but I mean, honestly, found a way to make it work. But
Just putting
I
it
don't know
out
if this
there
is a
that
widespread concern or if it's,
it comes up fairly, in my 11 years, this has come up fairly regularly. It's a regular occasion, in a large high school. I don't know if you had
to me,
5
it just
people
seems like a
requesting
health.
that.
To me, it
Yeah.
seems like
Not yet.
yeah, it just seems like, something, and I know we don't live in that world anymore, Jonathan, but, something that you would work out. It's like a medical condition, right? It's like, and I feel like it's something you could work out.
I think the guidance has been that we don't. So that's why I wonder if maybe we should have a procedure for.
That we don't
Yeah.
what?
That
I
we do not create new schedules for nursing mothers necessarily that can put an undue burden on the building.
Yeah, and it used to be the expectation that women would do this in a locked bathroom stall.
Exactly, and
Now we
it
have
is-
rooms in all public buildings. And
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So I'm wondering if it just requires a little more development, having seen the policy in front of us, like,
We should have a procedure to accommodate women in our buildings.
yes,
And consistent with our adherence to the policy.
correct.
Right. And even though we don't change schedules, we do cover, right? Like, we don't officially change schedules, but if someone, like a medical condition, we don't provide,
No.
oh,
The guidance has been, the answer to staff is no.
With medical conditions, it also goes through HR
Yep.
for like accommodations and stuff like that, that usually HR.
I'll say nursing mothers, the guidance has been, we do not provide alternate schedules for nursing mothers to accommodate a specific time for nursing.
I think that's correct. I think
That's been a regular response throughout my tenure.
but do they get accommodated?
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
There's a
it's not saying that
location.
They can't have a location. It's not saying
Right.
that they can't. It's just if coming back from maternity leave, if the mother was, let's say she was doing the breastfeeding or pumping at like 10 a.m. But when coming back, that's actually a class. We can't take the request of, no, I need to do it at 10 a.m. because she already is teaching at that time. We're just saying during your plan time or when you don't have a class, here's your space, here's everything you need. So I think what Jonathan is saying is just the schedule alone is something that we weren't doing. It sounds familiar.
That is 100, what Dave just shared is 100% accurate as to the guidance that we get. So I think it's covered under policy as being paid time, but it's not at the discretion of the employee. It is saying this is your work schedule, so therefore you have to make it work within the established work schedule that you have.
I mean, I can say, so that's somebody that unfortunately had pumped 3 kids 3 years and worked with this same thing. It's like bringing back nightmares. But, I mean, I think there are, how long of a period do we get, or do teachers have where like they're in the classroom and there's no breaks? Like, is that 3 hours?
Could be a long time, could be 4 hours,
Okay.
4.5 hours.
Generally, I don't know, it's like a 3 hours of pumping if you're going to pump. If you're exclusively pumping, and obviously things have changed where now the pumps are, you can walk around and do whatever. I wouldn't suggest that like in
Sure.
class, that might cause some issues, but you could definitely be doing work. But, I mean, if you have that 3 hours, I know most people who pumped, it was like you just work around the schedule there. It's not like unless you have some sort of a medical thing, like mastitis, I don't know, one of those issues, but generally you just work around that schedule. I mean, it's not to sound insensitive, but it would be very easy to be like, well, I got to pump at 10 when I got all the kids in the class, and I got to pump again at 2 when we're doing dismissal, and sorry. Like, there's got to be a level of accommodations because you don't have to pump at a certain time.
Yes.
Yeah, your body adjusts to the times when you would pump.
I think that's
yeah.
been the lens.
And this policy doesn't say we can't do that, right? It just says
It has to be during paid time.
I was just educated. Your body adjusts.
It does.
Yeah, totally adjusts.
we want to work with our nursing mothers, for sure. We want them to come back and stay as teachers. All right, 6:20, school year calendar day. We have some policy changes, references, and footnote updates here. There's no questions. We will move on. 6:40, curriculum development. We do have some policy updates here, legal references, cross-references, and footnotes here. Mike, your thoughts on the updates here? Bottom of page 44.
Yeah, it's just adding the every 2 years, so it's just a time frame
Okay.
that we're aware of.
How many single-gender classes do we have? Do we still do PE?
No. So we really don't have any that I'm aware of
I
at this
couldn't
time.
hardly think of any.
No.
Boys, the boys choir or girls
Oh.
choir?
Our madrigals are multi-gender.
Yeah, okay.
At some point, it might have been health classes that were single gender, but that's going way back. So I'm not aware of any that we have here in the district at this time.
Sherry and I were talking when I was scratching her brain to try to think.
Since it says activities, does that encompass sports then?
Well, that's, yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's athletic. I think it would be named athletics, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
It would be activities does not encompass athletics because athletics has a separate section.
Well, doesn't athletics have its own?
Well, I mean, athletics isn't under curriculum.
Yeah, for.
Under
I mean, for us, we would
extracurriculars.
have-
Extracurriculars, that would make
Yeah,
sense.
we would go through the IHSA policies for athletics, not the,
But then we also have an extracurricular section under board policy as well that it's going to be covered in, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I just read this as curriculum.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. $660 actually has a number of changes, and it also requires us to answer a question on page 50. So when I see these types of changes, I often ask, well, where are we going to start doing these? Some it's more clear than others. And then, what aren't we going to teach because we're adding these, right? Because we're not extending the day with these new mandates. So it has to be replacing,
We're teaching faster.
there it is. Yeah, faster.
So is there still a unit of cursive instruction in elementary school?
Oh, yeah, that was a policy.
very much so.
Years ago, and we landed on, was it
Third grade.
Third grade? Yeah, we had a pretty robust.
Because none of my high
conversation.
schoolers know how to sign their name in cursive, so I'm
Find
confused.
out how we're
Sarah,
teaching it.
Sarah, don't start.
Sorry.
Don't start, Sarah.
Just saying.
It says a unit of instruction. It doesn't say how many days the unit must be. It says unit of instruction.
5 seconds, 5-second cursive lesson.
I think we do a quarter of the year.
We do.
In third grade on cursive.
In a
writing.
workbook.
In a workbook, yes.
I do have did you go through I have a
No,
question.
we're on it
about
right now, 660, yeah.
So all of our athletic programs are teaching our students about steroid prevention, steroid abuse and prevention?
Not athletic programs, this is curriculum.
This is in curriculum, so it would be in our health classes.
Health is, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Must also be taught in interscholastic athletic programs. I'm reading
What number?
number 3. So what is that? Intramurals? What?
Say where you were again,
Number
Suzanne?
3 on page 46.
No, because that's where I'm at too. Yep.
Drugs.
Oh, there it is.
So anabiotics, anabolic, thank you, steroid abuse prevention.
Well, I will say that to
7 through 12, yeah.
to be authorized as a coach through the IHSA, every year or every other year, you need to take one of their courses on performance-enhancing substances. But this is
I can-
certainly, this
I
is
think I
saying
can
that you
help
need to
with-
take some time to, talk to kids about it now.
Our students have to sign off on these, it's not really a course, but they have papers that they have to sign off on. There's a concussion paper, there's
Performance-enhancing.
performance enhancement, there's drugs and alcohol paper. And so during the parent meetings or the first initial meetings, the coaches, at least in high school, will go over these handouts. They'll go over what it is, what it looks like. So I don't know if that's what they mean by that, but.
Makes sense, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, IESA has similar requirements as well. But it points out that we should ensure that it's happening consistently, that we're all making sure we're doing that.
Yeah, all of the coaches and the ADs should have copies of every single sign-off of a student athlete.
Are there any thoughts on the K through 4 drug and alcohol abuse prevention instruction? As in, it's now included, where this policy would include it in there, that they have to have developmentally appropriate instruction, study, and discussion of effective methods for the prevention and avoidance of drugs and the dangers of opioid and substance abuse. Of course, developmentally appropriate, but then I'm wondering, like, where are we getting that from? I don't think that's currently included in second step or the social emotional curriculum that we're using. I just have some wonderings about that at like the K level, the 1 level.
And that's something I talked with Janelle and the K-5 team about in teaching and learning, and those are there are additional resources we're going to need to put together and share with this language. But this is now state code language.
It is,
This is not
okay.
optional language, so this is where we need to conform with the.
Yeah, the
So we
question.
could
at
almost
the end-
treat it
We need.
like a
the
risk
state is
watch.
Also, yeah, with
Yeah.
part of our risk watch, other resources.
Let's say
Yep.
dare, say no.
Yep.
And again, it's saying it needs to happen.
There's the teaching.
The length to the length of how much it happens, how it happens, how long we use that. That's part of what we're looking at, really, in just updating all of our health mandates, specifically at the elementary level. So we have a few ideas on that, and probably bringing some ideas and recommendations to
Got it.
Dan and the board this spring.
But it's a code, so it's got to happen.
That's my understanding.
6, Mike, where does that happen? Where do you see that happening? Just as part of the regular? I mean, I could see elementary, but like at the middle schools.
We talked about that specifically at
Library.
elementary and middle school with the library. There's a lot of internet safety and internet usage there. That's part of the library curriculum. So we talked about it there, but really this needs to happen, throughout the year. It's not 1 or 2 lessons. It's just ongoing practice about internet safety. We have a lot of protections with internet safety, internet usage, just from our IT team and what kids are able to see. And so but we have to be explicit in our instruction about what might be available on the internet at home when they're not on the school network. And so that's part of that instruction, that I think sometimes we get very comfortable with the safety measures that are already in place on the district network. And this is how to make sure that we're helping the students to understand what else is available and how to protect themselves from harm.
Mike, is that like an assembly, a presentation? Like, it never gives like a duration of?
That's one of the tricky parts, right? It never gives you rarely gives you a timeline or a length of time or what the unit of instruction is going to mean. And so that's for us to decide, to develop, and then, work with principals to figure out. It could be, I'd like to think, but if we hope it happens throughout the year, that's not intentional. If we can't point to where and how we do it each and every year for each and every grade, then, then we have a problem. So part of our responsibility in teaching and learning is to make sure that we have mandated units of study that are articulated, that are on our core curriculum guides, and that teachers, administrators, and all of us can find where does it go, whose responsibility is it, and what are the resources that are used. So when these new updates come out, and then there are new ones almost every year, we try to be really intentional about where they are and how to put them in the core curriculum guide. That one specifically around number 6, we're talking with librarians about, but then at the high school, we need to basically pick the courses. Is that going to happen in our English classes? Is it going to happen in social studies, or when and where is it going to happen? And if it's each and every year, it needs to happen in a class that's offered, to all students that year.
Yeah, there's quite a bit here. I mean, CPR, number 14.
Yep.
And that's been in there. And some of these down at the bottom, if you look at what's been crossed out, that's just a rearranging of some of that information and based on timelines of implementation. So you'll see some changes of the years there, and so part of that's just a reorganization for the rollout of new expectations based on existing mandates and the new ones that are supposed to be implemented in the upcoming school year. So some of it is a reorganization of the language. Like the CPR, we've had that for several years.
Mike, kudos to you and the teaching and learning department, because even as an educator, reading what is required of us as educators is overwhelming. So kudos to you and your department for following when we're getting all these things plugged in, because it's an extensive list.
Yeah, and it keeps growing. Number 22, I'll just give you an example of reading through 22, and you think about our social studies curriculum and all the different areas that you're not going to find that in our standard curriculum. But what we're trying to figure out is, it doesn't say exactly how long that instruction is going to be or where it's going to be, but how do we make sure that it's meaningful for kids? We're not trying to just reference things and to say we've covered it. So we want to do a good job. We're continuing to work with our teachers who we meet with them in the summers. We do some curriculum writing. We try to have specific resources that are going to connect with our curriculum and not just reference cultures and
I find it just mind-blowing that we actually need to know that on September 17th was when the Constitution was signed. 1787, it's not just 1787. We need to know it's September 17th, 1787. Wow.
So the one question that the committee needs to answer is on 24. If you look at number 24, and then you go to the end, there is a question and answer. So the question specifically is, a district may include in its curriculum a unit of instruction studying the causes and effects of mass starvation in mid-19th century Ireland, known as the Irish famine. And so we need to decide if the board is going to provide instruction studying the cause and effects of the Irish famine. The default is no, we leave it out, or yes, and we add it.
We've talked about this before, but one key word is the district may include, rather than must include. And so if I'm reading that may, it gives us that option. I believe that I can't say that that's going to be referenced in our elementary or middle school curriculum, but it may be, I would say it definitely is in our AP World History curriculum.
Not just AP.
Possibly in world history, maybe very likely in world history, but with the may, I don't know. That's not super strong language, but it is. What's hard is there are a lot of important topics to cover throughout time in history, and so, and I guess my question is, am I reading the word may correctly? Right, shall is, right,
shall
may,
you
may
have-
feels like if we were able to do it, that would be, yes, it's part of that, that robust curriculum that we're trying to offer. Shall would be something that would require additional work, and I would want to get the feedback from our social studies teachers specifically about where it is or what they would need to be able to include that.
Anybody have objections to Mike conferring with the social studies department and then letting me know what that recommendation is, and then whatever that is, we add it to the board when we take it for first read? Good?
Great.
All right.
Fine.
Also with that, it seems like if we were to offer it, there should be the determination of a minimum amount of time, instructional time too.
On specifically to the Irish famine.
Yes.
Yeah, if offered, the board locally determines the minimum amount of instruction time. Yeah. Right, so, I mean, yeah, I don't, yes, I would need more information, and I think if it's happening in some classes but not all, then I would defer to the default, which would be to leave it out. But if the committee is very interested in this, and then we will work to include it. And right now, I don't think it's saying, I don't see anything in there about which grades or when or how, but right, other than listing, and we can easily say in the 10th grade world history curriculum, and then we could define the time. But I would want to, again, talk to the high school social studies teachers about that.
So in number 24, there's no time designation for any of those units either, or those topics?
I'm thinking the same thing. So as soon as you say 10 minutes, that means you're teaching
Right.
spending less time on those other things.
I do have a wondering in 24 because the terminology at the beginning of 24 is in all schools. So there's no grade band differentiation there. And some of those topics, do those happen in all schools?
Well, the policy says it.
The policy says it.
As determined by the superintendent or designee.
I know I talked with Janelle also about that. I'm trying to think about what units, but I know we have that marked in our mandated units of study. I'm not sure if it's in CKLA or Social Studies, the Studies Weekly curriculum, where it
Okay.
would be in one, my guess is it would be in 5th grade or 4th grade.
Right.
I do have an alignment guide that would show where all of those go, and I don't have that here with me,
No,
Jonathan.
no,
but
not at all.
I'm happy to
One would
to
think I
follow
would
up.
know too.
Yeah, happy to follow up with that. But that's not new, so that is something
Yeah.
that we should have had, or we sure that it was part of the new social studies curriculum, which
Sure.
was just adopted
It's actually,
last
right,
year.
it's actually 21 on down, 21
is.
through
Yep.
29.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
We might have already accounted for it, but yeah.
Yes, the new social studies weekly elementary curriculum that we adopted has alignment with all of the state mandated units of study for social studies.
Got it.
So
Then it's there
I
somewhere.
to show where each one of each reference is something that I know John L. was looking at and putting together. So I can get that to the committee or follow up if you'd like.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions on 660? All right. This next one also requires us to answer a question, 6 to 10, instructional materials. So if you look down towards the bottom of page 50, did I miss one? Oh, I missed.
Yeah, where the green.
Oh, there we go. My bad. 6130, we actually just adopted this in October, and there is a new legal reference, so really no changes there. Besides that, 6160, English and multilingual learners. There's a slight policy change. It includes guardian, and then we also have updates to the footnotes. Now we're at 6210. Sorry about that. So yeah, if you look on page 56, you scroll towards the bottom under instructional materials section and adoption, there's a question there. And the question is, a board that does not have the capacity or desire to approve all instructional materials may use the following alternative. The superintendent shall recommend to the board for consideration the adoption, all textbooks and primary instructional materials, and shall include the following information. 1, title, publisher, copyright dates, number of copies desired, and cost. 2, any text being replaced. And 3, rationale for recommendation. The superintendent shall approve the section of all other instructional materials. So has the board adopted the alternative language shown before? And my understanding is it's not. So the question is, do we want to stick with our default or add the new language?
How does the board currently approve the instructional materials?
We bring a recommendation to the board, so we present what those curriculum materials are. We have those available for public viewing for 30 days. We bring the recommendation to the board to adopt new curriculum. And
On a as-needed basis, or on what interval?
we have an 8-year adoption cycle.
8 years?
Every 8
Once
years.
every 8 years?
Once every 8 years, yes.
Okay.
And so at the elementary level, if you just think about the 4 core content areas, we're either piloting or adopting something at the elementary level every year, right? So if you have ELA adopted 1 year, then you're piloting math, or then you're adopting math, then you're piloting science, and then you're adopting science. And you're piloting social. So it's a way to make sure that, right, we're not implementing things too quickly, we're not overwhelming our teachers. It's still a lot, right? Because every year there's a piece of, a fourth of your day that you're, or not really a fourth of your day, because so much of it's for ELA and math, but one of the 4 content areas is going to be shifting or every other year at least. So, and then the other areas, we have to build in time for the specials areas, so physical education, for music. So all, if we think about the specials areas coming into the 8-year cycle, all the different courses, CTE courses for high school, some of our other elective courses, there are a lot of different areas to make sure that we're best utilizing. Linda does a great job of helping me to set the budgets and to make sure that we're not just reacting, but that we're looking ahead and we're making sure that we do a full program evaluation. We use the standards, the mandated units of study to make sure that we're in alignment with state guidance as well. So we'll come forward with that recommendation and with the cost of the curriculum for board approval. It'll sit for 30 days. We'll take questions, emails, and then after 30 days, it becomes an action item or consent item for the board to approve.
And I want to ask you a clarifying question so I fully understand. You do the whole kit and caboodle once every 8 years, or you do different portions for different levels?
Yeah, great question.
Every 8 years, and you're always doing it?
Every year, we'll come in the spring with recommendations, and so because elementary ELA is such a large part of the day and is extremely expensive, that is usually the one and only piece that we're going to bring. We can't do all English language arts for the district without it being a multi-million-dollar item that is unique to that every 8-year cycle. So I work with Linda to balance it out, so we have a pretty consistent number to figure, so that we can budget accordingly, and then some years we'll be able to bring 3 or 4 different content areas that fit under that adoption budget. And then if it's a big item like elementary ELA has been our largest adoption, we may even need to stage that over 2 years of the budget. So we pay for half of it in one fiscal year, and then, or 2/3 of it in one fiscal year and 1/3 of it in the next, knowing that there'd be a smaller adoption coming right behind it. So we're really trying to stage based on and set the cycle to balance out and maintain a consistent budget that is predictable. Every once in a while, there are new things that arise or come up, and Linda and I have to work on that. But if we can, science is something that we try to bring K-12. We try, because we don't, that's something that's not done every single day at the elementary level. So some of the resources we already have, and we try to utilize some of the things that we already have. So sometimes we're able to we brought all social studies in one year. That was last year. We brought all science together. MLL or CTE will try to break up into the different categories, but I don't know if that answers your question. We're just trying to maintain a more consistent budget. But as far as reviewing the resources themselves, or going through which books, which titles, publishers, they're available for public viewing and comment and feedback for the board as well as for the community for 30 days before the board votes at a board meeting.
Do you have a recommendation for the committee about how to handle this? This question at the bottom of the policy?
I mean, primary, I think, is...
Keyword is, the primary.
That's a key word there for me.
And then I struggle with the second part of that, because I like the word primary instructional materials, because we also have some contractual language that teachers have the ability to select some of their own resources that would be able to meet the needs of their students, or to add to, not pick their own core curriculum, but bring in some other resources and articles and things like that. So we don't approve and even know of each and every resource that is used each and every day, but we do know what our core curriculum is. That's what's board approved. And then that is the expectation that the principals help to reinforce. The last line, the superintendent shall approve the selection of all other instructional materials I maybe need a little more clarification of what that means, or should that say the superintendent or designee?
designee.
And even if it was designee, I'm not exactly sure what would fall under all other instructional materials.
Yeah, what's coming to my mind right now are like the intervention programs that we use, right? How many do we have? Dozens, right?
Yes.
And I'm certainly aware of a good number of them, but there's some that I ask you about, like.
There's a ton of stuff in our policy and in the code that says the superintendent shall, and you can execute on that charge by designating that authority as you do so many other things,
Yeah.
I would think.
I would just like to point out, I appreciate that we're emphasizing the word primary. And I've heard ML mentioned. One of the areas in the special ed audit is to recognize special ed in the curriculum adoption process and as a curricular department. So I appreciate that we're talking about primary. I just want to ensure that we are including those things that aren't considered primary, like ML and special ed materials, right? You're mentioning intervention and things like that.
Yeah.
So just want to remind our group that we would want those to be included in our adoptions.
Most definitely.
Practically speaking, either of these choices is fine, because the curriculum, this worked when curriculum adoptions were $500,000. When Mike comes for a curriculum adoption cycle, his budget is $2 to $2.5 million. So the board's going to hear those presentations anyways. The 30 days is that's just a deal. It has to happen. But the board's going to hear it anyways, because it's going to be such a large expenditure. You're going to have a presentation over the curriculum. So practically speaking, either of those choices isn't going to really change how we do curriculum adoption, because it's such a large dollar amount.
I'd be inclined to keep the default.
Yeah, I had that highlighted here, but I certainly wanted to hear from the committee.
That would be my preference as well. I think all other instructional materials just feels like each and every, it just becomes
Yeah.
a lot to get down to that level, so.
All right, default language. $6,260, complaints about curriculum, Title I services, instructional materials, and programs. We have a legal reference and footnote update in this policy. $6,280, grading and promotion. No changes to the policy itself. Again, just footnotes are updated here. $6,300, graduation requirements. This policy has some small changes with also legal references and footnote updates. Is 4 generally our civics classes, Mike?
Yes.
$6,310, high school credit for non-district experiences, course substitutions, and re-entering students. There are some changes, slight. It actually just looks like legal references and footnote updates. No changes to the policy there. Unless anybody had recommendations. $6,320, high school credit for proficiency. Looks like legal references and footnote updates. To include the state seal of biliteracy. 710, equal educational opportunities. There is some policy changes there right at the bottom under administrative implementation, a couple words added and some cross-outs there. And then also some cross-references and footnote updates. 722, student welfare, section 504 and ADA. There's the last sentence has some edits to this, and there's a removal of reference 114, which is a policy that we eliminated in our last policy adoptions. $770, attendance and truancy. Page 71, number 14, policy change. And there are some legal reference and footnote updates as well. So maybe our principals, any thoughts on 14? Number 14, page 71.
And it's what's outlined then under Press Plus comments, right, Dan? Those are the allowable.
Don't we have this in our high school grading and athletic handbooks already? Like the I don't know, provisions or the things that would say up until this point of the school day, you can't participate in the activity, or what teachers can accept for late work when it's an unexcused versus an excused absence. I thought we already had something like this. I'm just gonna say, I know high school has this, and I can share it with you through our high school grading practices and the athletic handbook. We're talking about 14, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But then, and does the grading policy also have in it then, Sarah, like participation in any work-based learning experience in which student participation and learning outcomes are approved by an educator? Is that just the,
That would be a part of our school day.
right, I mean, and that's
Yeah.
going to be the job placement.
And that is a class, that's a course at the high, well, as
Right.
you know, yeah.
It's legal. It's a legal, new legal law statute. So
All
you
right.
have to-
But I think it is covered. Like Sarah said, I think it's already the practice.
We've already, yeah, it's been what because we're just so good in Unit 4. It's been what we've been doing, yeah.
All right, then. 7150. So this looks like it was a rewritten policy by press. Agency and law enforcement requests. It used to be called agency and police interviews.
But this is just a title update, right, Dan? Yeah.
I'm looking back to our current policy. Let's see. 7150. Come on now. 150. Oh, no, it's pretty different policy. The other policy was much shorter. It basically said the superintendent shall develop procedures to manage requests by agency officials or police officers to interview students at school. Procedures will, and it gives 5 points, recognize individual student rights and privacy, recognize the potential impact an interview may have on an individual student, minimize potential disruption, foster a cooperative relationship with public agencies and law enforcement, and comply with state law, including but not limited to ensuring that before a law enforcement officer, school resource officer, or other school security person detains and questions on school grounds a student under 18 of age who is suspected of committing a criminal act, the superintendent or designee will notify or attempt to notify the student's parents, guardians, and document the time and manner in writing, make reasonable efforts to ensure the student, parent, guardian is present during questioning, or if they are not present, ensure that school employees, including but not limited to a school social worker, psychologist, nurse, counselor, or any other mental health professional, are present during the questioning, and, if practicable, make reasonable efforts to ensure a trained law enforcement officer to promote safe interactions and communications with the student is present during questioning. So, little different. Quite a bit different. The end, so from responding to responding to agency and law enforcement requests, that looks like very similar, but they've added to that.
There's the current policy.
Oh, there you go. That's what we currently have, and we,
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the additional information is regarding citizenship, legal status.
yes. Probably needed,
I mean, I'm guessing it's in response to
yeah.
current times. It seems like a lot of the things that we already have in place are in line with that as well. So I think your procedure is already backing up whatever this policy is saying.
Is there a procedure attached? Sherry's checking to see if there's a procedure that press has put out on this one as well. All right, if there's no discussion, we can move on. Sherry, there is a procedure?
Yes.
All right, so we'll review that
And
administratively.
an exhibit, a new exhibit.
7180, prevention and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment. We've got policy change there. Looks like AI. Footnotes and updates. If I'm not mistaken, I think we're dealt with some of this stuff right now, so it makes sense. We have it in policy now. 7190, student behavior. There's some changes on page 89 of this policy, under required notices.
I've got a question on this one.
Yeah.
Just where it says when and where conduct rules apply, and then for anywhere if the conduct interferes with, disrupts, or adversely affects the school environment, school operations. And then it says be a threat or attempted intimidation. Where does cheating fall in on that? I mean, would that, because technically if that, a lot of times that can be done, I mean, would that cover, would we want to add that in there to cover? Or is it sufficient? Number 4 is sufficient.
Say that one more time, Betsy.
So we're talking about, which obviously big issue, talking about stuff that's off campus. Like in the past, we've talked about, bullying that happens online, stuff like that. Another issue that is incredibly prevalent, at least at the high school level, is the cheating with the smartphones and back and forth and the photos. My question with that would be, is there anywhere where that number 4 would include that? Because
Well, number 6, if you look at number 6, I think it goes to that.
yes, but does it include? Yes, number 6 goes to that, but this all reverts back up to here of where it applies, when and where it applies, when and where the conduct applies. So I'm wondering if that should be under 4. So that whole list, prohibited student conduct, is the poor student conduct, but the top part is when and where it applies.
First 84?
I'm
Betsy,
starting on
I think it applies, right? Because 4 just says anywhere.
conduct interferes with,
If
disrupts,
it
or
interferes
adversely.
with the school environment and operations.
It may reasonably be considered to be a threat.
You're reading paragraph number 4 at the top of
When and
page
where.
84.
With the intent of having it cover
With the
cheating.
intent of having it cover, for example, cheating. And it's pretty harsh consequences there. That's like a threat or attempted intimidation of a staff member or endanger the health or
It
safety.
says
of-
it includes but not limited to,
Right.
right?
Right.
So what do you
but
think? Do you think that would?
I think it would, but I think people make arguments the other way.
So I think
I mean, I don't have a preference either way, but it just, obviously people, well, it didn't happen on school grounds.
you're considering this in the lens of like academic integrity, right? Like cheating. But when we talk about student conduct and behavior, we have usually kept those things mutually exclusive. Meaning we don't put cheating into the code of conduct. I know Orlando's sitting over there. So like there's no violation in our student code of conduct for cheating. It is handled at a classroom level, at an academic level, with consequences that occur academically, but not behaviorally.
It's in here, number 10, engaging in academic dishonesty. I mean, I'm fine with whatever way we decide to handle it, just as long as it's consistent.
How often is it coming up as a discipline issue in the secondary schools? Pretty regularly?
They sometimes want to make it a discipline issue, but then we revert it back to this is not a discipline issue. Correct. It's an academic issue. So the student might receive a 0 on the assignment for not having academic integrity or cheating or what have you, or have to redo the assignment under certain conditions. But as far as discipline goes in our world of behavior management and discipline, it is not included anywhere in there.
What happens when you add in the cell phones? Because I'm just speaking of a parent of high school that just went through and went, and they are sitting there. send to their friends.
I think at that point, then you could link it to the code of
Cell
conduct
phone
for
use.
misuse of electronic device.
Yep.
And then you could follow the code of conduct based off of first offense, second offense, severe.
'Cause-
Basically using, there's also misuse of computers.
That's what I was just going to say.
Electronic
Yep.
devices, it's all covered. There's all of those outlined under a misuse code of some kind.
But nothing explicitly that says cheating.
If you wanted to address academic dishonesty, cheating, using traditional discipline, what are the tools in the toolbox? Suspensions?
No.
I'm saying if you wanted to do what we're.
Oh, I was
currently
like,
doing-
no, you can't.
No, I'm.
Yes, you're saying if. I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, just walk that dog a little bit. So
Yep.
there's a reason they're separated.
Yep.
And if you were to try to combine those two things in discipline, academic dishonesty with traditional discipline methods, we're at like suspension.
Yeah, like in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, detentions.
Probably not effective tools for that activity.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Taking a student out of class because they cheated on an assignment probably doesn't draw a correlation to fixing the behavior.
I make it worse.
Yeah, might make it worse.
I have just a grammatical observation, grammatical correction, typo, whatever you want to call it. Top page 89. There's the red highlighting, which removes the words or, around, but I think we need to include the word on.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Or add on or around.
Well, they've removed or around
around.
for a reason. I don't know, but they don't have a. Is it a preposition we're looking for here?
Becomes aware.
English major.
Yes.
Yeah, at the end of that, it says on school grounds. Possession of a firearm, school, yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I
need
think we
something.
do need on.
Yeah, you need on. I agree.
So we don't have to do it if you're on or around, like if you're walking down University across from,
Yeah, I
I
imagine
think they
this
take
is
it out
to
because of
make-
ambiguity.
Yeah, to remove that, yeah.
All right. Moving along, 7290, suicide and depression awareness prevention. Got some policy changes here and legal reference and footnote updates. Henry, you had a question? There's no questions, we'll move on. 7310, restrictions on publications, elementary schools. This is just a legal reference and footnote update. 7315, restrictions on publications. There is a slight policy change there. Number 5, there was some language crossed out. And then the rest are just legal references and policy updates. Seven, 340, student records. There are some policy changes here. On top of page 99. Pretty minor. Professional officer. Moving on to section 8. 830, visitors and conduct on school property. Page 102, again, a change from certified to license. And then some reference and footnote updates. And that is all of Press Policy 120. Thanks for hanging in there.
we're going to get to everything.
All right, the next item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gotta go for me, even though I brought some of these forward.
Well, we are at time, and we've got through the bulk of our policy questions here. Field trips, cell phones are, I think, items that we will continue to debate. We can
Can we do the field trip before spring break trip coming up?
try to before the spring
Try to
break.
get that implemented to protect ourselves on that.
Do we know when the next policy?
Isn't it's got to be adopted
Press is
at the next
coming up.
board meeting?
Yeah, it's got to sit 2 meetings. Well, it's got.
This one could
re-
sit one.
This
We
one,
got a new guy maybe coming in.
This one could sit one. I mean, if we don't change what we've already done, then we're running the risk of our international field trips. Do we have administrators on it? Do we have all of the legal boxes checked that's considered a field trip? Have we? Or we could adopt some language that says even if, obviously we need to adopt new administrative procedure, but even if something's advertised or whatever, and
Before you get to the merits, do we have a policy meeting scheduled in the month of February?
we don't, but we could certainly look to schedule another one to bring these things up.
Okay, okay, so
We'll do a
we could
poll.
do that before the last February meeting? Board meeting?
Yeah, I think, when's the one in March? When's our board meeting in March? It's before spring break, I thought.
But even if we did that, it would still go to the board as a first read and not be adopted if we were looking for something to be.
Certain things can be adopted at a first read if they're necessary for, if there's a time.
Or is there language that we could use for a trip to set expectations to make sure everyone has that prior, like in a procedure or
There needs to
an
be.
understanding and with some writing prior to us developing or to the board formally adopting policy. Just another idea.
The problem is that as it was adopted or is adopted, that if you're adopting something as a field trip and it's international, I mean, if we're adopting something as a field trip, we have to make sure we check all the boxes. Who's administering medications? Who's doing a million things that you have to do for the field trip? And it's coming back on us. If we can put language in there that exempts that just says international third party, and again, I would want this run by our board attorneys. I wrote it not from the perspective of board attorney, but just trying to risk management it. But, so this would say, even if we did, have people that were, or, if we did go through the wrong process or was advertised in schools or whatever, that does not put, we can still be indemnified on this and not held harmless. And then also, we don't have to, it's something different, so we don't have to adhere to all the field trip policies and procedures that go hand in hand. That's just my concern, is that if it's a field trip, we gotta adhere to all the field trip policies and procedures, which make it feasibly impossible.
Why don't we try to schedule another policy committee?
Perfect.
So that we can talk about, we won't have press updates to talk about, because I don't think those are coming out. They haven't said when those are coming out yet, have they? So we won't have that on the table, we'll just pick up what we
Cell
left
phone,
off.
I think you can probably do like 3 meetings with that.
Okay. That brings us to our next item, which is public comment. Do we have anyone that would like to make a comment? Okay. Since there's no public comment, it'll take us to number 6, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for hanging in there. 5:30, policy meeting comes to an end, and
Thank you.